you have it exactly right. You know, when the politicians in their dictatorial powers think about how far can they get away with things, they always have in the back of their head what happened to Romania in 1994 with Ceausescu. And that morning, to a captive audience, he's giving a speech. By 6 hours later, he's behind the presidential palace getting a bullet in his head. Why? They go a bridge too far. And this is exactly what's happened. Maria, they've been caught, right? They've been caught trying to extinguish our species. And now they got to finish the job, except that not everybody's going with the program. Now you see fracturing. They're no longer this monolith train. There's no longer a giant DOD train wreck happening. It's all falling apart, and they have to do something to save themselves because they all look guilty. There's something called a felony murder rule. If somebody dies in the commission of a felony, everybody gets hit with murder one charges. So this is what they're worried about, and this is why they're starting to back off, and this is why we're seeing the fracturing.
Well, I just had Dr. Francis Boyle on with me on Vigilant Fox's Media Blackout, it's a show that I host every single week. And he said we need to move away from civil proceedings. What's happening in Kansas is fantastic and it needs to happen. But we need to not only have civil proceedings, but we need to move to criminal proceedings. And in his assessment, and bear in mind, he's the architect of the Biological Weapons Act. In his assessment, these are not only biological weapons, but weapons of mass destruction. And we need to move in the direction of criminal action based on that. And I'm in agreement. I think that these injections would meet the definition of biological weapons in multiple countries. You know, what we really do need to see is criminal proceedings, Todd. And I know that you're quite passionate about that. So talk to us about how that would look, at least in the United States.
Yeah. Well, we actually drafted, my little law firm is a pro bono law firm back in 2020. We drafted a form criminal complaint where people could download it and try and stop the shots with their local law enforcement. And I think it was May of 2021, there were more than 20,000 of these things downloaded and filed. So it wasn't just us seeing it for what it was. And by the way, I know Professor Boyle, he's the guy that literally wrote the law. And of course, he's right. What is implicated here is something called universal jurisdiction. So believe it or not, the Nuremberg Codex that came from the Nuremberg trials in World War II created international law, international criminal law in particular. And what that says is that some things are so egregious, so universally bad, like bioweapons, that nobody can hide from this, that they can be hunted down, they can be tried in absentia, and they don't get to live in a country that doesn't allow capital punishment. One way or another, they're going to pay. And this is exactly what Professor Boyle is talking about. Universal jurisdiction for war crimes, crimes against humanity. And by the way, that little trick about having your bioweapons factories in territories, not countries, Ukraine, Taiwan are territories, not countries. They were not signatory to this bioweapons treaty. So what happened? Our government, of course, put their bioweapons factories in the territories to try and avoid the application of this law, and they got caught. Putin already rolled over them in Donbass, and one of them that he captured was owned by what? Metabiota. That's a company owned by Hunter Biden. They're all going down, Maria.
Well, I certainly hope so. Alex just posted Dr. John Campbell covering a recent FOI or FOIA in the United States that came out of Australia, where our Therapeutic Goods Administration knew long before mandates that the lipid nanoparticle was not staying in the injection site and that it was basically taking over the whole body, going to, vital organs. And so in my opinion, our Therapeutic Goods Administration and the head of it at the time really, really needs to be put on trial. And I mean serious criminal charges. What Dr. Francis Boyle just signed in Florida is an affidavit, and some of the statutes included are treason, murder, conspiracy to murder. I mean, this is what these people have done. They have conspired to kill or injure or at least poison millions, billions of people.
Billions. And it was intentional. Let us not forget in 1994, the countries of the world got together in Cairo, Egypt. And they said, we got to get rid of 7 billion people. How do you do that? Maybe they would use the biggest killing machine the planet has ever known, otherwise known as the U.S. military. What I gave testimony to the Croatian parliament about is how the use of public health laws created a cattle chute To do what? Evaporate everybody's constitution, charter, and human rights so that there was no way to stop them. There is no redress except for this. We all said, no, we're not getting you stupid shots. And they didn't kill enough of us, right? That's the reality of the situation. Now it's a do or die, Maria. Either they finish the job or we're going to finish them. And that's what this march towards World War III is about. They don't care if they kill us by nuclear weapons. They don't care if they kill us by shots. But it is a do or die mission on both sides.
Well, I want to ask you about that, Todd. What do they do with their smart cities that they've been building and all the infrastructure? My first broadcast on InfoWars made such an impact that a university in Australia pulled down their documents from the internet. You can't even find them on Web Archive, for goodness sake. And that's how powerful InfoWars is. And so we're grateful for it and everyone's support of this broadcast. Please make sure